Unreal Tournament on the Dreamcast, released in 2001, brought the fast-paced, multiplayer-focused action of the PC classic to a console, allowing Dreamcast players to experience one of the most popular shooters of its era. Developed by Digital Extremes and published by Infogrames, this version managed to adapt the game's core elements like arena-based combat and the competitive multiplayer atmosphere, which made it famous on PC. It featured various game modes: Deathmatch, Capture the Flag, Domination, and Assault, each offering unique gameplay objectives and team-based tactics. The Dreamcast version supported split-screen multiplayer, but it notably included online play via Sega servers, enabling players to compete against each other over dial-up internet. While the graphics and controls were adapted for the Dreamcast's limitations, the experience was widely appreciated by fans of first-person shooters for staying true to the original's design, with fast movement, precise shooting, and strategic map design. Despite being well-received for bringing a new PC experience to a console, the Dreamcast's hardware constraints did lead to reduced frame rates and lower graphical fidelity compared to the PC version. However, the game remains a nostalgic favorite for its successful adaptation of a complex multiplayer shooter to a console environment that hadn't seen much like it before. Engine optimization and rendering techniques. The Dreamcast's SH for CPU and PowerVR 2 GPU presented challenges, as they were significantly less powerful than the average PC hardware running the original Unreal Tournament. To make the engine work, the developers focused heavily on reducing polygon count and implementing efficient culling techniques. Polygon reduction and LOD, level of detail polygon-heavy assets, were simplified by reducing vertex counts and using LOD scaling, where objects further from the camera appeared with fewer details. This technique was necessary to prevent the SH for processor from becoming overloaded with high polycount models that would otherwise be manageable on a PC. Texture compression and mip-mapping. The PowerVR 2 could handle texture compression, but required careful management. Developers used mip-mapping, reducing texture resolution at greater distances, and texture caching to free up memory for other processes. Textures were stored in the limited 8 MB video RAM and frequently loaded from the Dreamcast's GDROM, leading to strategic preloading of certain assets to prevent slowdown. Culling and occlusion. The Unreal Engine's advanced rendering included backface culling, which discarded polygons not visible to the camera. For Dreamcast, they used a combination of view frustum culling and occlusion culling to only render objects within the player's field of vision and those not blocked by other geometry. This helped significantly in keeping frame rate stable. Memory management and code optimization. With only 16 MB of system RAM and 8 MB of VRAM, efficient memory usage was crucial. Memory allocation. Developers restructured the game's memory management by segmenting levels into smaller chunks, loading and unloading them dynamically. This allowed for smoother transitions between sections of larger maps, which would otherwise exceed the Dreamcast's memory capacity if loaded all at once. Data streaming. To handle large maps and textures, Unreal Tournament relied on real-time data streaming from the GDROM. The game would stream low-priority assets in the background while prioritizing models and textures close to the player. This was achieved through custom caching algorithms that controlled data access to minimize load times and avoid memory bottlenecks. Assembly code optimization. The Dreamcast ports or extensive use of assembly language optimization. By coding critical portions of the game in assembly rather than C, developers were able to manually manage CPU instructions, allowing the SH to perform more calculations per frame and boost efficiency in areas like AI and rendering calculations. Networking and netcode innovations. Networking on a 56K modem was one of the most technically ambitious aspects. Bandwidth management and packet compression. The network code was optimized to work within the Dreamcast's limited bandwidth. Packet data for online matches was compressed aggressively, transmitting only essential data like player positions, health, and action states. The netcode also used delta compression, sending only changes from previous states rather than entire packets. Prediction and interpolation. To address latency, developers implemented a prediction system to estimate player movements. The server would interpolate player actions, predicting where they would be by the time data arrived at the client. This prediction system kept online play feeling responsive despite slow connections. P2P model with server handoff, rather than relying on a central server, the Dreamcast Unreal Tournament used a peer-to-peer model with server handoff capabilities. This allowed the game to pass host control between players if the original host disconnected, a necessary feature for games running on home connections over dial-up. Control scheme adaptation. Translating the PC's mouse and keyboard setup to the Dreamcast controller was a technical challenge that involved both hardware adaptation and software-based assist systems. Auto-aim and aim assist, developers adjusted the game's hit detection to include auto-aim and aim assist algorithms, which adjusted bullet trajectory slightly to help players without the precision of a mouse. These algorithms factored in enemy movement and distance to subtly correct shots, making gameplay smoother without feeling overly automated. Input latency reduction. Optimizing input processing for the Dreamcast controller involved reducing the time between input detection and action. By streamlining the code handling controller input, developers reduced latency to ensure quick and accurate player responses, which was crucial for a fast-paced shooter like Unreal Tournament. In summary, porting Unreal Tournament to the Dreamcast required sophisticated technical solutions to fit an advanced PC game within the constraints of console hardware. Developers had to make trade-offs, from downscaling assets to reworking memory management, to achieve a playable version that preserved the intensity of the original. Sales for Unreal Tournament on the Dreamcast were relatively modest, a common trend for multiplayer-focused games on the console. Released in March 2001, this was close to when Sega announced they would discontinue the Dreamcast and exit the console hardware business. The timing hurt potential sales, as many gamers were beginning to shift focus to next-generation consoles like the PlayStation 2, Xbox, and GameCube. Although Unreal Tournament was well received for its gameplay and the feat of bringing online multiplayer to consoles, it didn't reach the commercial heights of its PC counterpart. The Dreamcast's small user base and the game's reliance on online play over a 56K modem limited its appeal to casual players. The focus on online play and competitive multiplayer also made it less accessible to gamers who preferred single-player experiences. Estimates place its sales in the lower tens of thousands, with some sources suggesting around 50,000 to 60,000 copies sold. This was considerably below expectations for a game of its reputation, but considering the timing, platform constraints, and the focus on a niche multiplayer experience, Unreal Tournament sales on Dreamcast reflected the broader challenges the console faced in its final year. Despite this, the port is often remembered fondly by Dreamcast fans for its technical achievements and faithful adaptation of a PC classic. Positive aspects. Graphics and fidelity. Critics were impressed by how well the visuals held up on the Dreamcast. Despite lower resolution textures and simplified models, the game captured the look and feel of the PC version. The environments, weapon effects, and character models were viewed as faithful recreations, showing the developers' dedication to preserving the original's aesthetic within the Dreamcast's constraints. Multiplayer experience. Reviewers praised the online functionality, which was groundbreaking for a console shooter at the time. The ability to play competitively online over dial-up was a standout feature that many critics noted as innovative, even if it came with some lag and occasional connection issues. Local split-screen multiplayer also received positive remarks, allowing for a console-friendly way to enjoy the game with friends. Overall faithfulness to the original, many praised the game for delivering a recognizable Unreal Tournament experience, successfully adapting popular modes like Deathmatch and Capture the Flag. The addition of aim assist and auto-aim made the console controls more manageable, which reviewers noted as a thoughtful design choice for accessibility. Criticisms. Frame rate issues. The Dreamcast struggled to maintain smooth frame rates in certain maps or during intense action, particularly in larger maps or when multiple characters were on screen. This occasional drop in performance was cited as a drawback, as it affected the fluidity of movement and aiming, a core part of Unreal Tournament's appeal. Controls and lack of mouse support. Although aim assist helped make the Dreamcast controller work, critics noted that the controls felt less precise compared to the PC's mouse and keyboard. Some reviewers found the analog stick aiming clunky for a game with such fast action, limiting its appeal to players who valued precise shooting mechanics. The Dreamcast keyboard was supported, but not the Dreamcast mouse, which could have improved control precision significantly. Online play limitations. While online play was a technical achievement, critics noted that the 56K modem connection led to lag, especially when playing against distant opponents. Connection stability and match quality could vary widely, affecting the competitive experience, especially given the fast-paced nature of Unreal Tournament. Unreal Tournament on the Dreamcast stands out as a remarkable port that brought the frenetic, competitive multiplayer experience of the PC classic to console. Despite the hardware limitations of the Dreamcast, Digital Extremes and Infogrames managed to retain much of what made Unreal Tournament so popular. Through detailed engine optimizations, such as reduced polygon counts, LOD scaling, and innovative data streaming, the team managed to balance visuals and performance, creating a visually satisfying experience that was still responsive. The developers took full advantage of the Dreamcast's capabilities to introduce online multiplayer through dial-up connections, allowing players to experience competitive play across the globe. This came with its own technical challenges, especially given the need to compress data and implement predictive netcode to minimize lag. Nevertheless, it marked a breakthrough moment in console gaming, demonstrating that robust online play was possible on platforms that predated broadband. Though connectivity was sometimes inconsistent and came with limitations, the online aspect was a pioneering feature that brought Unreal Tournament closer to its PC roots. However, there were compromises. The Dreamcast's analog stick, while functional, didn't allow the precision of a mouse and keyboard, and the absence of mouse support made fast-paced shooting slightly cumbersome. Despite these limitations, the addition of aim assist helped make gameplay more accessible for console players, though performance hiccups in certain maps could still disrupt the action. In summary, Unreal Tournament on the Dreamcast is an example of what was possible with skilled adaptation and engineering. The port captured the essence of the original game, offering a solid experience for Dreamcast fans who wanted a console-based shooter with both local and online multiplayer capabilities. While sales were modest, likely due to the timing of its release, the game remains a cult classic, admired for its ambition and technical achievements. For fans of retro gaming, Unreal Tournament on Dreamcast is worth revisiting, not just for the action, but as a glimpse into a transitional era in console gaming when online play and competitive shooters were still finding their way onto home systems. It's a testament to the ingenuity of developers who could transform a demanding PC title into a respectable console experience, pushing the limits of what a Dreamcast could handle. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive into Unreal Tournament on the Dreamcast. If you enjoyed this retrospective, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more content on retro gaming. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. What do you remember about Unreal Tournament on the Dreamcast? Or are there other retro ports you'd like me to cover? Let me know, and as always, keep gaming.